Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is NPR congressional reporter Kelsey Snell. Hi, Kelsey. Thanks for being with us.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
So I think everyone's looking towards next week, January 3rd specifically. Explain for our viewers what could happen on January 3rd that would affect the shutdown.
Yeah, and the middle of the day is when Congress comes back into session and all of the new members are sworn in. And then over in the House, they will be having a speaker's election. And that's when we expect Nancy Pelosi to be elected speaker. And she has said that one of the first things that they will do is the House will vote to reopen the government. And once they do that, it will be completely up to the Senate and President Trump about whether or not they will move forward with that. Once the House votes, the Senate would then have to decide if they're going to vote on the House-passed bill or if they're going to still keep waiting to see what President Trump will support. Because that's where we are right now, is waiting to see what President Trump would be willing to sign.
We can't ignore the politics of this. You have the president's position, the Republicans' position, the Democrats' position. Right now, can you just give me a snapshot of where each stands and how this is being perceived in Washington?
Well, they are basically exactly where they were, a month ago, maybe. Democrats say that they are not willing to pass any bills that have money to build a wall along the border with Mexico. The president is saying that he won't sign any spending bills that don't have that money. Now, that puts them in a spot where somebody has to give. One of the options might be for Democrats and for the president to agree on more border security money that doesn't necessarily build the wall. That would kind of give them the flexibility to claim a political victory where Democrats say we didn't directly fund the wall, and the president could say, well, I'm doing things along the border, maybe building fencing or putting up barbed wire or repairing existing fencing. But in the end, a shutdown looks bad for everybody. The only question now is how long will voters remember that they were upset about a shutdown? We've seen several of them in the past couple of years, and neither party has really paid any political consequences at the ballot box for shutting down the government, which completely defies conventional wisdom about shutdowns being bad.
So what organizations or what departments are the latest to shut down?
Well, we have been hearing that the EPA is going to be having to scale back a lot of their operations. Only about 15% of all federal workers are in D.C. That means 85% of people are out in the rest of the country. People like Border Patrol agents and TSA agents who are out there working without pay as the government shut down.
That brings me to a question. I'm wondering what the shutdown is doing to affect American safety. You mentioned TSA and Border Patrol.
Yeah, those agents are still working, and there are many assurances coming from all over in the government that American safety will still be protected. What is happening is the people working just aren't getting paychecks, and it is coming around to the first of the month when rent and bills are due. And there are a lot of questions about, how do these people who are missing out on paychecks keep up with the regular demands of life? One of the things that happened earlier this week is that the Office of Personnel Management sent out these draft letters that were supposed to be for employees who are either furloughed or who are working without pay to give to creditors and to, say, their landlord to explain why they can't pay their bills. It was a fairly surprising thing, I think, for a lot of people to see that the government was asking people to kind of barter with their landlords to avoid, being penalized for this time when they don't get a paycheck.
I don't know if this is apocryphal or if it's true, but I understand that some people didn't actually realize that they weren't going to get paid.
It tends to happen every once in a while where people get caught by surprise. Usually the departments are supposed to let all of their employees know if they would be essential. Essential employees are those who would work without pay, or whether they be furloughed or not working at all. It's important to point out that Congress already passed a bill that would allow most workers to get back pay once the government reopens, but that really only applies to federal workers, not to people who are contractors working for private companies that are hired by the federal government. Oftentimes that's people like janitors or security guards, some of the low-wage workers who are working to keep up the daily operations of government buildings.
NPR's congressional reporter Kelsey Snell, thanks for sharing your reporting.
Thank you.